In regards to the game today, I thought it was a solid effort by all three phases. There's certainly things that we can improve, but we looked more mature, we looked more confident, we looked more consistent and more poised. And I think just played a higher level of football in our opener from beginning to end than we did a year ago. We broke a streak for no turnovers. That's last time that happened was 2013. That's a lot of Virginia football games, and that is not to be taken lightly. We've emphasized that at a really high level. I thought our special teams for the beginning of the year were strong. There were the coverage units and the return units and everything. They pretty much mirrored the defense and the offense in terms of where we were. So I thought our program is about mirrored images when you look at the three sides of the ball. We probably left 10 to 14. There's probably 2 more drives, 14 more points out there that I think we could have, if we're playing at an elite level or a high level, that we could have capitalized on because of field position. So I think there's 2 more drives we left out there. And the one scoring drive, the touchdown drive from William and Mary, quarterback scramble work, so we need some work with there. He was on that drive. It was really him avoiding sacks and running for yardage that got them into the end zone, so we can touch that up a little bit. But overall, a solid start, and happy to see the kids smile and anxious to improve on all the areas we need to, and then work and get ready for the next one, which is Indiana. I'll take questions.
Bronco, the turnovers in the passing game have been especially costly in recent years. Was that a particular point of emphasis this offseason?
It has been. We know game management's going to be critical with the current stage of our team and building. And yeah, it wasn't necessarily wide open, but it was conservative and efficient. And those two things in the run game and the throw game, there's room for improvement everywhere, but efficiency was what we were after. We were pretty strong on third down today. I think we managed the fourth down scenarios and the field position well in terms of when to go for it and when not to. There's a few errant throws that Kurt had, but overall he was delivering the ball on time and to the right player most of the time. And so, yeah, just a good start, but the efficiency and holding onto the football and moving the chains and controlling the tempo of the game. I think we were able to do that for a lot of the game. And so, yeah, it wasn't wild and elaborate, and there weren't maybe the oohs and ahs, but it's a nice starting place. Other than Laverone's play, that was an ooh and an ah.
What are your thoughts on William and Mary's gesture at the beginning of the game and the T-shirts that they wore?
So I didn't notice. I didn't know what the gesture was with turning to the stands, and I didn't know the T-shirt. I didn't understand the symbolism of that. I thought it was just a team thing. So I'm kind of in the dark as to the intent or what happened with all that. And I'm still new enough to the area and the team where I didn't know if that's something that's what William Mary does to start the game. So I didn't know. I still don't know.
Jordan Ellis gets so much credit for the work he puts in, the effort. To see it kind of pay off with him, scoring twice, does that help make people want to follow him more, that he's getting results also?
It does. When you're building and developing programs, when your hardest workers are also the best players or have the most results. So that can be either way. When your hardest workers are having the most results or are the best players, your culture starts to permeate and build. And J.E.'s 2 years in a row was the #1 jersey selection just because of his work ethic. So no one was happy. I mean, the whole team's happy for him anytime he has positive yards or catches a touchdown or runs for a touchdown because of who he is. And that's helpful to our program. And as we continue to, again, learn what each player can do, we're much closer as to what each player can do and where to use them and how to use them. And you saw the multiple substitutions, and we're becoming clearer as to what our current program looks like and how we might need to manage it as we're building.
Bronco, obviously defense is what you pay attention to the most as a coordinator of that side of the ball. I'm sure you're disappointed, obviously, in last year's effort. Was this a right step for the defense today? I mean,
sure.
Gave up only 63 passing. I know their quarterback situation was in flux, things like that. They had some handicaps, but did you think this was the right step for that side?
Yeah, it's the right step. Again, I'm very self-critical regarding everything we do as a team, but especially the defense. And so the number one thing I took away today is the scramble work. Again, we didn't do a great job with rush lanes. And while I was promoting wild and aggressive play to go after the quarterback, it didn't take long before in the second half. It was just one quick look downfield and then see what he could do with his feet. And so we didn't get tested downfield very much because of our pressure. But we now need to coordinate our rush lanes a little bit with some of our exotics and different blitzes. We need to coordinate our rush lanes better. But it's the start.
Broncos psyche-wise, was this a really important opener based on the way last year started against an FCS team and just to kind of build something?
Against any team. It just winning college football games is hard. And we have a lot of work to do in our program, have done a lot of work, and I'm just proud of the guys for they were anxious to play. They were optimistic before they went out. They were confident, and they were looking forward to playing football. And that's part of developing a program where they're actually looking forward to the contest. And as we continue to promote that and build that, I think there'll be just a different presence that our team will have. And to have a reward for that after all the work and the amount of time we spend in fall camp, it's gratifying again to see them happy, and yeah, it was important, certainly.
Coach, they had a lot of success, it seemed like, in terms of breaking through the middle of the line. You're breaking in a new nose tackle. How much can you attribute their success to was it the rush lanes? Was it what you were doing on the defensive line?
Rushes, quite a few of the rushes. Again, we were in nickel personnel, which is without a true nose. And so very little of it was in our base personnel. So again, once we got the lead, we were taking more chances and being a little bit more radical on what we were doing, which there's more risk with that. Didn't think that our opponent could score enough points just running the football. So I wasn't paying as much attention to that as just how we were going to hit the quarterback. And so as I get to know us a little bit better, at least in nickel, I think that'll be shored up a little bit.
I know you haven't had a chance to review, but it seemed like Malcolm Cook came back, big numbers, had the sack. What did you see from his performance?
Not enough to really comment other than in the locker room after the game, he came up and just gave me a big hug and said thanks. I mean, I think the game probably meant more to him than anybody to be able to start the full game and play the full game. He was smiling, and it was one of those genuine smiles where I don't think outcome mattered that much. He just was happy to be playing football again.
Could you talk about your kickers, specifically Lester?
Wow, one of the biggest plays of the game was that the giant punt at the end that set up the defensive turnover. But we needed, and it's been a long battle, but Lester did a really nice job, and I think was accurate, and I think he was poised, and I think he was confident, and it's really fun. He earned a scholarship this fall camp and was awarded, and I'm not sure there's anyone that the team celebrated louder or more wildly for when they earned the scholarship than what he did.
Bronco.
The other kickers, the first couple kickoffs were exactly where we wanted, and our coverage unit was strong. We placed a couple balls, we landed them in the middle, and wasn't where we intended them to land. So we had a little bit of an accuracy issue with the kickoff, but good enough leg. And then our PAT and field goals, we had a little bit of an issue with snap and hold, which allowed one or two, I think two maybe, that didn't seem to be as clean as we needed to. And so it looks like we have some exchange work still and some mechanic work to do there. But I like our accuracy of our field goal kicker. I like their legs in terms of their distance and how we can manage that. But the snap and hold mechanics, that to me looked a little bit shaky.
Bronco, two of Kurt's 3 touchdown passes came on 4th down. Just kind of talk about the decision to go for it on 4th down, and did you to see that, what does that say about Kurt and this team?
Yeah, he's becoming just more consistent. And we had another 4th down where we had a player open, and we missed that throw. But now that we're becoming clearer where we can kick field goals from, that's allowing us to manage the yardage and the field of play a little bit differently. And so that was just the beginning of what most likely we'll intend to do. That mark will kind of move back and forth a little bit based on how our field goal kickers are looking. But there becomes a range there on the field where pooch punt, field goal, go for it, those become the options. And today it was more go for it.
Bronco, just during that moment of silence, kind of what was the feeling among pregame among you and the players, and kind of how does that contribute to kind of the healing process?
I think it does contribute, but I also think action contributes to the healing process. So I was so thankful that the fans showed up and the support they gave us today, and maybe some were there rather than just to see a football game, but to heal. And when you have an event and there's something to do to move forward, I think that helps the process. And yeah, it is football, but possibly through football and seeing young guys out there competing and trying hard, already having acknowledged that they believe in diversity and respecting others for differences. Hopefully there's an alignment there that made it a special day for those that came to watch.
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of piggybacking on that a little bit, but even the result of this game, how does that help the process moving forward? As you guys try to put it all behind you?
I'm not sure. I think it helps just make people feel better for the moment. But I also think that when just by seeing people compete fiercely and hard for a purpose, for a cause, for an institution, for each other, there can be inspiration there too. Yeah, when the result happens, I think it's easier to acknowledge, but I think you got to be careful with that because sometimes without the result, there's still really phenomenal effort and stories going into people that are overcoming adversity and still unified for the same purpose. And so I'd be careful about substantiating a principle by outcome, but it does seem at this case appropriate, and hopefully it helps.
Bronco, obviously a lot of questions about your offensive line. Toward the end there, you had 2 cracks at it near the goal line. You threw on both plays. Where are you with the confidence of that unit and how you think they did today?
I think I think that helps. That scenario, I think, helps determine where we are, where we're making progress, but it is a work in progress. We are and have some capability, but need to develop it. And when that happens, the throw game will be a little bit more clean, a little bit more open. And on J.E.'s touchdown, it wasn't just a throw; it was kind of a misdirection and a play with taking advantage of as many numbers as could be stacked to stop the run. Possibly we could get around, and so that's where we currently believe we are, and might not be able to get the tough yards when we need to yet, or we might need to know who behind we run when we need the tough yards. So I think we're still sorting that out a little bit.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.